Hello everyone. In this lecture, I am going to solve 2012 Regional Mathematics Olympiad question paper. And here is a view of first problem. In this problem, we have given a triangle ABC and D be a point on the segment BC such that DC equals to 2BD. Okay, I am going to draw the diagram. Here in this problem, we have given a triangle ABC. Okay, this is the triangle ABC. And D be a point on the segment BC such that DC equals to 2 times BD. That is ratio of DC to BD is 2:1. So we can take D somewhere here. Okay. And E be the midpoint of AC. E is what? E is actually the midpoint of AC. E is somewhere here. Let AD and B intersect at P. Okay. Connect these two segments. This one is AD and this one is BE. And the point of intersection is P. P with the point of intersection. Okay, and we have to find out these two ratios, BP is to PE as well as AP is to PD. Okay, I am going to use the area proportion theorem to prove these two results. Okay, since by area proportion theorem we know that y area proportion theorem, BD upon DC equals to area of triangle ABD upon area of triangle ADC this is again equals to area of triangle BPD upon area of triangle. Okay, if we connect P to C, then we can also write BD by DC as BPD upon area of DPC CPD. Sorry, this one is CPD. And if these two ratios are equal, then the value of each ratio is what? Area of ABD minus area of BPD upon area of ADC minus area of CPD. Okay, and ABD minus BPD is what? This is actually become the area of triangle APB upon in denominator ADC minus CPD is what? Area of triangle APC. So you can check BD by DC. In the problem we have given that BD by DC is 1 upon 2. So each ratio of this equation becomes 1 by 2. 1 by 2 means what? We can write if we suppose area of triangle BPD. If we suppose area of triangle BPD is S1, then definitely this becomes CPD becomes what? 2S1. So we suppose area of triangle BPD is S1. Therefore, area of PDC becomes what? 2S1. And also look at this ratio, extreme right side. If we suppose area of triangle APB as S2, then area of triangle APC becomes what? This becomes 2S2. But E is what? Look at triangle APC. PE is what? P is actually the median of triangle APC, and median bisect the area. Therefore, if we write area of triangle APC as 2S2, then area of each part APE is S2 and area of PEC is also S2. Okay, now we want to work on this ratio BP by PE. So by area proportion theorem, we can write it as BP by PE is clearly the area of APB upon area of APE. But you can look at figure, these two areas are clearly S2. So this ratio becomes 1. That is, we can say that BP equals to PE. Okay, now we have to work on this ratio AP is to PD. AP is to PD. Okay, we can write by same area proportion theorem, BP upon PD equals to what? Area of triangle ABP upon area of triangle uh, BPD. BPD, that is, we can write S2 over S1. So we have to connect S1 by S1 and S2. How can we connect? Look at this line BE. B is actually what? B is the median of triangle ABC, and we know that median bisect the area. Median bisect the triangle, and hence is divide the triangle in two parts of equal area. Since BE is median of triangle ABC, so it will definitely divide triangle in two parts of equal area. Therefore, we can write area of triangle ABE is same as area of triangle BEC. Okay, but area of triangle ABE is what? 2S2, and area of triangle BEC is what? 3S1 plus S2. So we can write, move to the next slide. So we can write S2 equals to 3S1. This will implies S2 by S1 is what? 3 by 1. So S2 by S1 is what? S2 by S1 is actually AP by PD. AP by PD is what? You can look at this relation star. AP by PD is clearly S2 by S1, and S2 by S1 is what? 3 is to 1. So AP is to PD becomes what? 3 is to 1. AP is to PD is 3 is to 1. Hence proved. This point is actually D. Okay, now move to the next problem. This is a nice number theory problem. In this problem, we have given A, B, C be positive integers such that A divides BQ and B divides CQ and C divides AQ. A divides BQ, B divides CQ, and C divides AQ. And we have to prove that ABC divides A plus B plus C raised to the power 13. There is a mistake from my side. Actually, exponent is 13 here, not 3. Okay. We have to prove that ABC divides A plus B plus C raised to the power 13. Then how can we prove that the number ABC divides this? So we have to here it is sufficient to prove that here it is sufficient to prove that any prime divisor of ABC also divides A plus B plus C raised to the power 13. If we show that any prime divisor of ABC also divides A plus B plus C raised to the power 13, then our job is over. Then we can say that ABC also divide A plus B plus C raised to the power 13. So in order to prove this result, suppose P be any prime divisor of A. That is, P is a prime number which is appeared in the prime factorization of positive integer A. So we have supposed that P be any prime number which divides A. Since we are given that A divides BQ, since since A divides BQ, this will implies if P divides A and A divides BQ, this will implies P divides BQ. But P is what? P is a prime number, and if P divides BQ, then definitely P divides B. And also we have given that B divides CQ. B divides CQ. Therefore, these two statements together implies if P divides B and B divides CQ, P divides CQ, and hence P divides C. Therefore, we can say that from these three steps, we can say that any prime divisor of A also divides B and C. This is the sign of intersection. It means together these three lines implies any prime divisor of A also divides B and C. But also by symmetry we can say that also by symmetry we can say that because A divides BQ, B divides CQ, and C divides AQ. So if any prime divisor of A divides B and C, therefore we can say that this condition also holds true for B and C as well, because if any prime number Q divides B, then definitely Q divides C and A as well. So also by symmetry we can say that the result is true for B and C also. The result is true for B and C also. Therefore, overall we can say that A, B and C, these three positive integers has the same set of prime divisor. Therefore, we can say that the positive integers A, B and C have the same set of prime divisors. Now what we have to show that? We have to show that ABC divides A plus B plus C raised to the power 13. For this, what we want to show? Any prime divisor of ABC also divide A plus B plus C raised to the power 13. Suppose X is the highest exponent of P which divides A, and I am going to write this one in symbolic form, and this is the symbol we can use here, which means P to the power X divides A, but P to the power X plus 1 does not divide A. It overall means that X is the highest exponent of P for which P power X divides A, and P power B highest exponent of by is the highest exponent of P for which P power by divides B, and Z is the highest exponent of P for which P to the power Z divides C. Therefore we can say that P to the power X plus Y plus Z divides ABC. P to the power X plus Y plus Z divides ABC. Now we have to show that in order to prove the result, we have to show that P to the power X plus Y plus Z also divides A plus B plus C raised to the power 13. So without loss of generality, we can suppose minimum of XYZ is X. If minimum of XYZ is X, also we have given that we have given that b divides cq, and y is the highest exponent of p which divides b, and z is the highest exponent of p which divides c. Therefore we can write it as y cannot go beyond 3z, and c divides aq. Therefore we can write z less or equals to 3x, and taking these two results together we can write y less or equals to 3z, but z less or equals to 3x. Therefore y less or equals to 3z less or equals to 9x. Okay, therefore x plus y plus z is less or equals to x plus upper bound of y is what? Upper bound of y is 9x, and what is the upper bound of z? Upper bound of z is 3x. Therefore we can say that the sum x plus y plus z cannot go beyond 9 plus 3 12 plus 1 13x. That is highest exponent of p, that is highest exponent of prime p dividing ABC is 13x. Okay, also if p power x divides a and x is actually the minimum among x, y and z, this will imply p power x also divides b and c. And if p power x divides all a, b and c, therefore we can say that p to the power x definitely divides, p power x definitely divides their sum, because p power x individually divide all three positive integers a, b and c. Then definitely p power x divides their sum. And if p power x divides a plus b plus c, therefore we can write p to the power 13x definitely divide a plus b plus c raised to the power 13. But p to the power x plus y plus z is actually less or equals to p power 13x, and p power x 13x divides this one. Therefore by 1, therefore ya we can write p to the power x plus y plus z divides a plus b plus c raised to the power 13. And this result holds true for every prime p divides a, b and c. This result is true for every prime p which divides a, b and c, and hence we can say that ABC definitely divides a plus b plus c raised to the power 13. Hence proved. Okay, move to the next problem. This is very simple and very elementary inequality problem. And here in this problem we have given two positive real numbers a and b which are connected by this relation. Their sum is actually equal to 1, and we have to prove that a to the power a into b to the power b plus a to the power b into b to the power a cannot go beyond 1. Its upper bound is actually 1. Okay. Now in order to create term like this a to the power a, b to the power b, I am going to use weighted AMGM inequality here. Using consider a with weight a and b with weight b. In order to create this term a to the power a, b to the power b, I have considered a with weight a and b with weight b. So while taking weighted GM, this term appears. and use WAM is greater than equal to WGM. WAM is what? A1 W1, that becomes A square, plus A2 W2, that becomes B square, upon W1 plus W2, that becomes A plus B, is greater than equal to A1 to the power W1, that is A to the power A into B to the power B whole to the power 1 upon W1 plus W2, that becomes A plus B. But look at this condition. A plus B is what? A plus B is 1. Therefore, this sum becomes 1 in denominator, and this also becomes 1. Therefore, we can write this relation as A square plus B square is greater than equal to A to the power A, B to the power B. This is the first condition. Now, I am going to create this one. Here A to the power B and B to the power A appears. So, I am going to consider A with weight B and B with weight A. Consider A with weight B and B with weight A. And again, using the same inequality, WAM is greater than equal to WGM. WM is what? A into B plus B into A upon W1 plus W2 is what? Clearly B plus A. And this is greater than equal to weighted GM, A to the power B and B to the power A whole to the power 1 upon A plus B. Again, A plus B is what? This quantity is 1. This quantity is also 1. Therefore, we can write it as 2AB is greater than equal to A power B into B power A. This is the second result. Now I am going to add these two results. 1 plus 2 implies A square plus B square plus 2AB is actually greater than equal to A to the power A, B to the power B plus A to the power B into B to the power A. Now this quantity becomes what? This quantity becomes A plus B whole square, and A plus B whole square is what? A plus B whole square is clearly 1. Therefore, we can write A to the power A, B to the power B plus A to the power A into B power B. B power A is always less or equals to 1. Hence proved. Okay, now move to the next problem. This is a very elementary combo problem. In this problem, we have given a set X 1, 2, 3 up to first and natural number, and we have to find out the number of pairs A comma B where A is a subset of X, B is also the subset of X, but A not equals to B, such that A intersection B is what? 2, 3, 5, 7. It means that these four elements belongs to both the set A as well as B, because we know that A intersection B is a region which also contains in A as well as in B. It means that these four elements belongs to A and B simultaneously. Okay, let's start. I'm going to discuss some basic part of set theory here. Suppose if A belongs to A intersection B, this means that A belongs to A and A belongs to B. And if A does not belongs to A intersection B, then there are three cases. If an element belongs to A intersection B, then there is only one way. That element belongs to both the sets. And if any element does not belongs to A intersection B, then there are actually three choices. The first choice is A belongs to A, but A does not belongs to B. Or we can say A does not belongs to A, but A belongs to B. Or we can say that A neither belongs to A and nor A belongs to B. So if any element does not belongs to intersection of two sets, then there are three choices. Either that element included to the first set but not present in the second set, or we can say that that element does not belong to the first set and present in the second set. And there is one more possibility, when this element does not belongs to any of the sets, then we can say that and the element does not belongs to intersection B. Now look at this set. There are actually 10 elements in the set X, and A and B both are the subset of X. One more condition, A and B are not equal set. A and B are not equal set such that A intersection B contains these four elements 2, 3, 5, 7. And if A intersection B contains these four elements, then these four elements have only single choice, then we can say that 2, 3, 5, 7, these four elements all belongs to A, and these four elements also belongs to B. But the remaining six element does not belongs to A intersection B. What? 1, 4, 1, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. These six element does not belongs to A intersection B. So there are six choices. So there are three choices for each of the six element. Suppose one does not belongs to A intersection B, then there are three choices. One belongs to A, but one does not belongs to B. One does not belongs to A, but one belongs to B. One neither belongs to A nor belongs to B. So there are three choices for element 1. For element 4, there are also three choices. This element has also three choices. So each of the six element has three choices. Therefore, total number of ways of forming the subsets A and B are 3 into 3 into 3 is 6 times, that is 3 raised to the power 6. But look at this condition, A not equal to B. A and B are not equal set. But in this counting, there is one way. If all these six element does not belongs to A and also does not belongs to B. What? In our counting, there is one way in which A becomes equal to B. That is the case when all these six elements 1, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 does not belongs to A and these six element does not belongs to B. So in this case, A and B becomes equal set, and each set contains these four elements 2, 3, 5, 7. So we have to reject this possibility. So we have to reject this possibility. So required number of pairs of A comma B satisfying the above constraint, this one, these are the constraint which we have to follow. So the number of ways is actually what? 3 to the power 6 minus 1, and that comes out to be 729 minus 1, that is 728. Okay, now move to the next problem. Question number 5. Let ABC be a triangle, let B and C be internal angle bisectors of angle B and angle C respectively, with E on AC and F on AB. Okay, fine. ABC be a triangle. This is a triangle ABC, This is actually the bisector of angle B. This is the bisector of angle C. B and C will be the internal. B is actually the internal angle bisector of angle B. These two angles are equal, and here CF is the angle bisector of angle C. These two angles are C by 2. These two angles are equal here. These two angles are equal. Okay. Suppose X is a point on the segment CF such that AX is perpendicular to CF. Okay. Draw perpendicular A from the angle bisector of angle C, and that foot of perpendicular is actually X. This point is X, and Y is a point on the segment BE such that AY perpendicular to BE. This foot of perpendicular is Y, and we have to prove that the length of this segment BC is what? B plus C minus A by 2. We have to find out the length of this segment XY. Okay. I have also proved this question in RMO 2011 paper. So if you want, I have proved this problem by two methods in RMO 2011 paper, but I am going to prove also here this one. I am going to use the reflection method. Take the reflection of A with respect to bisector CF and BE. Let M and N be the bisectors of A with respect to CF and BE respectively. Then clearly M, N lies on BC. And this is very simple to prove. If we suppose I have extended this line segment AX till the point M, where M lies on BC, and here I am not saying that M is a reflection of A with respect to CF. I am saying that if I have extended AX till the point M where M lies on BC, then clearly triangle ACX is congruent triangle MXC. You can check it out because these two angle is 90. Angle AXC is 90. Here angle MXC is 90. These two angles is C by 2 because XC is a bisector and XC is the common side. So by angle side angle congruency theorem, both triangles are congruent, and if these two triangles are congruent, by CPCT we can say that AX equals to XM. AX equals to XM. So M becomes the mirror image of A with respect to bisector CF. So it is proved that I have proved that M lies on BC. And I am going to write one more condition. If these two triangles are congruent, then definitely AC, side AC of the triangle is also equals to the length CM. In a similar manner, take the reflection. Okay, N is a reflection of A with respect to bisector BE. Then by similar argument, N also lies on BC. And look at this triangle ABN. We can say that triangle ABY is congruent triangle NBY. By the same argument, angle side angle congruency theorem. Therefore, by CPCT, AY we can write AY equals to YN, and also one more condition, the side length AB of the triangle is equals to VN. AB equals to BN. Okay. Now look at triangle AMN. Now in triangle AMN, XY is what? X is the midpoint of AM and Y is the midpoint of AN. So by midpoint theorem, now in triangle AMN, by midpoint theorem, XY equals to what? Half MN. XY equals to half MN. Okay, now in order to find the length of XY, we have to find out the length of MN. Okay, move to the next slide. Okay, there is no space, no problem. I'm going to write here. I can write MN as CM. Look it carefully. MN equals to CM plus BN minus BC. But CM is what? Look at this first relation. CM is actually equals to AC. CM is AC, and BN is what? Look at the second relation. BN is actually equal to AB minus BC. AC is B, AB is C, and BC is A. Therefore, MN is what? MN is actually equal to B plus C minus A. Therefore, star implies this relation is a star. Therefore, star implies XY equals to what? B plus C minus A by 2. Hence proved. Okay, now let's move to the last problem. Let A and B be real numbers such that A not equals to 0. Obviously, leading coefficient cannot be equals to 0. Prove that not all the roots of this equation can be real. Okay. In this problem, we have to show that all the roots of this equation, this 4-degree equation, cannot be real simultaneously. So we suppose let alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4 be the roots of equation ax power 4 plus bx cube plus x square plus x plus 1 equals to 0. Suppose that this equation has 4 roots, alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4. By observing this equation, we can say that because the constant term is non-zero, so we can say that none of alpha I is 0. The reason is very much clear because the constant term is non-zero here. So I am going to use a reciprocal transformation in this equation because here the leading coefficient as well as the coefficient of x cube are unknown. So if we use a reciprocal transformation, then there is easy to work on the transformed equation as compared to the given equation. So I am going to use the reciprocal transformation here. Replace x by 1 minus x in the given equation 1. Then transformed equation is what? X to the power 4 plus x cube plus x square plus bx plus a. This is a transformed equation. And if alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4 be the roots of the parent equation, then we can say that this transformed equation has roots 1 upon alpha 1, 1 upon alpha 2, 1 upon alpha 3, 1 upon alpha 4. Okay. And suppose for the time being these roots are beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4. For the sake of convenience in writing, I can suppose these roots are beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4. Now it is very easy to work on this equation. Here we can say that leading coefficient is plus 1, coefficient of x cube, coefficient of x square, all are known to known to us. So I am going to use the sum of roots beta 1 plus beta 2 plus beta 3 plus beta 4. Sum of these four roots is what? Clearly minus 1. And sum of product of root taken 2 at a time, sigma beta 1 beta 2. This equals to what? This is equals to 1. So I am going to square this result. What we get? Sigma of beta 1 square plus 2 times sigma beta 1 beta 2. This sum becomes what? Plus 1. Okay. And sigma beta 1 beta 2 is what? Sigma beta 1 beta 2. This quantity becomes 1. Therefore, sigma beta 1 square plus 2 equals to 1. This implies sigma beta 1 square is minus 1. That is beta 1 square plus beta 2 square plus beta 3 square plus beta 4 square is equals to minus 1. This is looking like very nonsense picture, because the sum of squares of any four real number cannot be a negative quantity. If beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4 are all real, and we know that a square of any real number is always non-negative. So if beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4 all are real simultaneously, then this sum of a square becomes a positive quantity. So from here we can say that beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4 cannot be simultaneously all real. And hence if beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4 are not real, then clearly their reciprocals are also not real, and their reciprocals are what? Alpha 1, alpha 2. This will also implies alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4 are not all real. Hence proved. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next video. Till then, bye bye.